Hello and welcome to today's episode of Build Value by Choice. I'm your host, Nana Bonsu, President and CEO of Infinite Horizons Incorporated. I'm also the host of this weekly show. Every week, we bring on an expert to talk about topics that are of concern to especially small business owners. This week, we know that labor and getting talent and employees and scaling up and trying to grow your business with the right kind of employees has been top of mind worry for a lot of business owners. And so today we have on a special guest to help us discuss this topic because she's an expert on all things related to employees. And her name is Danielle Mulvey. And I'm going to take a second to read off her impressive bio, just a short kind of clip of it, because I can go all day if I try to. Danielle is a former flight attendant and entrepreneur who has cracked the code in recruiting and retaining what she refers to as five-star employees. That is game-changing, dedicated, hard-charging employees who make big plays and make consistent results. In addition to running her companies and assisting other entrepreneurs, she is the chief curator of the All-In Company community, which strategically advises other entrepreneurs on attracting and hiring five-star employees. That's not all. Danielle is also the author of the book, The Rapid Read Guide to the Five-Star Employee Rating System, and is currently co-collaborating with Wall Street bestselling author Mike Michalowicz on a new book to be released in the fall of 2023, which is also tentatively titled All In, How to Get Your Employees to Act Like Owners. She also hosts the popular show Profit First Nation, the official podcast for Profit First. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Thank you, Nana. So awesome to be with you today.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, the one of the key pillars of scaling or growing any company is people. You got to have the right people on the bus. And so today's topic, we just want to talk about how businesses can hire new team members without losing their company culture. So I have a couple of questions that I want to kind of start off with. But first, I want to just get into what inspired you to write the book, The Rapid Read Guide to the Five-Star Employee System.
So the Rapid Read Guide to the Five-Star Employee Rating System is a quick read. It is a rapid read. It is like, a mini book and such. And I wanted to give entrepreneurs who are already so busy and seemingly overwhelmed with their businesses and such, a quick start guide to getting serious about going all in on their recruitment and hiring process and creating and having a system and a process for assessing talent that gives consistent results. I found that most entrepreneurs are sort of winging it when it comes to recruiting and hiring. It's like, oh, I've got a position. Okay, I need to post something on Indeed. Let me look at 3 Indeed ads for a bookkeeper and I'll mesh them into one ad and I'll make it mine. And then, oh, geez, I've got someone coming in 5 minutes for an interview. Let me Google some questions on what to ask. And so they haven't really taken the time or gotten real clear and real specific on exactly what they need in an employee. And when you get clear on what you need in an employee and what you don't want, then you start with that clarity to be able to weed through the talent and make sure that you're hiring the five-star employee. A five-star employee represents the top 15% of available talent in the market for the same rate that you would pay a 3-star employee. But the beauty of a 5-star employee is that one 5-star employee does the work of 2 or 3 1, 2, or 3-star employees. So the secret is really to not settle for less than a 5-star employee in your hiring process.
Great. What do you think are the key ingredients for creating a 5-star work culture?
So creating a 5-star work culture, it comes down to, I think that the secrets are, number one, you've got to have a consistent process and system so that you really do have a team of 5-star employees. Because what's interesting about culture is that if you have one bad apple or you have that employee who just isn't pulling their weight, et cetera, that's demoralizing to your great employees and your 5-star employees. And you know who's going to leave you in those circumstances? the 5-star employee is going to leave. And so it's really important that we call it transition to alumni status. Those employees who are just 1, 2, or 3-star employees, average, ho-hum, or worse, you need to transition them to alumni status and make room for another 5-star employee in your organization. So that's the first thing, is really kind of using a good process and system to make sure that you're consistently hiring and recruiting and retaining 5-star employees. The second secret would be to be flexible about things, and kind of like, make things work to the best of their ability. There's a lot of great talent right now that doesn't want to work 40 hours a week. So if you have the ability to have positions where someone's working 20 hours a week, 14 hours a week, then maybe try to find 2 people at a part-time basis to do the work of one person. Because the other thing too about that is you can get really specific with someone's skills and talents who's maybe only doing 20 hours of work a week, and then having another person do 20 hours of work a week, kind of focusing on another skill or talent they have, but that you need in your organization. What I find is a lot of entrepreneurs, especially with, just a handful of employees, they tend to try to put too much into a job description or the expectations out of an individual. So for example, if an entrepreneur is hiring their first administrative assistant, they're wanting that person to do social media, to do bookkeeping, and to do client onboarding, for example. And it's like, those are 3 very specific. I mean, that's like trying to find a sparkly unicorn in a field of tulips. It's just really impossible to kind of have that expectation. So I think being flexible in terms of your expectations, you still need to set high expectations, but you need to be reasonable, and you need to realize that, maybe the best solution is to go with someone who could do it 20 hours a week, instead of trying to find someone 40 hours a week who wears all these different hats and is not a master at any of those things. Yeah. And then, and then another secret is to be a really good active listener, to listen to your employees, and pick up on different clues, on different hints, pick up on personal things in their life. What's really important is, finding a way to integrate an individual's personal versus and their workplace identity. And they're not just an employee. I mean, at home, they're a wife, a mother, a husband, a sister, a brother, etc. And so finding a way to build rapport with them on things outside of just the work at hand really shows appreciation to the employee and shows that you care. And that's really what people are thirsting for right now, especially coming out of COVID, when we were so isolated for so long. And, a lot of people do want to come back into the office, and they want to be part of a community again. And so you fostering community within your organization is important. And you don't need to go overboard, but you just need to be keenly aware of listening to what's going on in their lives and in the organization.
Yeah. So I mean, really, it comes down to have systems and processes, be flexible, be an active listener, try to have a workplace where the personal and the business can be the same, where people don't feel like they have to be a different person at work than they are at home. And yeah, I mean, I guess, and then building a community.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And there's one more secret, if I can share it.
Sure.
And that is starting the day. We call it our vitamin C meeting, and it's C like SEE. So we come together, and some offices I have are in person and some are all virtual. So depending upon the organization, sometimes people are coming on to Zoom, or sometimes people are going into the daily huddle room. But we have this vitamin C meeting where everyone sees each other in the morning, and we see, what are the 3 things I did yesterday, and what are the 3 things that I did today. But we start that meeting with a celebration. And that celebration just really kind of is a reminder of like why we're all here, why we're all working together, and having that opportunity to celebrate together about, you know, a client success or a kudos or just something wonderful. And that really is kind of a great secret to getting everyone in the right state for the day, and getting excited about being there and contributing and working together as a team, with that just simple daily celebration during that vitamin C meeting. Because if someone comes in and, you know, they had a rough morning getting into the office, something kind of went not according to schedule at home, you know, having that moment to kind of get into that right state, by celebrating with the team and then going forward, it works wonders on the culture of your organization. It's also a great opportunity for people to give shout outs to, you know, fellow team members. In one of our organizations, the one where people are in office together, we do shout outs. And at the end of the week, whoever gets the most shout outs during the vitamin C meetings gets to spin a wheel for a fabulous prize. So it's fun.
That's great. It sounds to me like it's similar to like a 15-minute agile kind of scrum meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the concern or maybe the view that some owners may have that, hey, I can't afford to transition my 3-star employees to alumni status because number one, there isn't, we're in a tight labor market, although that may be changing. And number two is that, that could cause a bit of consternation because first you got to advertise for a position that, somebody's occupying, even if they're underperforming. So how do you kind of make that kind of tricky balance work?
Yeah. So, so there's a couple of things we've recommended to people in that situation, that you maybe do like kind of a blind item post about the position. So you're not necessarily naming the organization or the company, but you are able to post for the position and start to get applicants. And people who aren't doing well in the position, I kind of struggle with people say, oh, we'll give them 6 months. And it's like, you don't need to give someone 6 months to try to like figure it out and such. If someone's not doing well in the position, they know that they're not doing well in the position, but we all are comfort creatures. And so, if we're showing up to work, we're getting a paycheck, no one's yelling at us, it's not that bad. We tend to stay like in our comfort zone instead of moving outside of our comfort zone and looking for a new job or a new position. But when you start to when you do start to recruit, when people do see the writing on the wall, it actually is like the writing on the wall literally to them that, hey, I better start looking for something else so that I can make a transition. And then obviously they're doing it on their terms and it's a little bit more graceful than having to let someone go. But even if they resign on their own terms, they still move to alumni status. You still want to celebrate all the individuals that have been part of your organization because they've done some sort of contributions. And it's not uncommon that as businesses grow and scale, they outgrow those initial employees, those first hires, because it requires a different skill set now that the organization is at a different level. And so it's not uncommon and it's business, but that person will be able to find something better. I mean, I've never heard of someone who was worse off when they lost a job or they went and found another job, because it's really about finding job satisfaction. And I can guarantee you that person who's a 1, 2, or 3-star employee, they're not happy in that position, because if they were happy in the position, they would be knocking it out of the park and they'd be a 5-star employee in that role. You see?
Yeah, the short term, it may sound like, it may look like it's not good, but over the long term, it's probably better for everybody.
For sure.
So if I may ask you, how did you come up with a 5-star employee rating system, and why do you think it's important for businesses to implement it in the workplace?
So the 5-star employee rating system is an objective system it gives structure. I am a process junkie. Like, give me a proven process and system and let me plug it in. And so the 5-star employee rating system is based off of it kind of like peeling back the layers on what has made us successful in recruiting, hiring, and retaining 5-star employees. And early on, I did use top grading back in the day. So some of this, like, spending a lot of time in an interview, that comes from top grading. But top grading hasn't really evolved in the 30 years since the book was originally published. And, technology has changed. So much has changed in the labor market and the recruitment market and such. And so, just things that we did out of function and out of necessity in our businesses, just kind of has made this like a proven process and system, to the point where, other people have asked me how we do it. One of our businesses, we are a subcontractor to a prime contractor. And basically that prime contractor takes our employees after a year and promotes them on their side. It was just like, well, how do you do this? Like, why are your people so good and such? And so then we just kind of like, well, here's under the hood. Here's how we do it.
Okay. And so what are the examples of, other businesses that have implemented your system? Can you share?
Oh my goodness. We've worked with a variety of businesses. We've worked with a business in your neck of the woods in Maryland, a pizza shop, on implementing the 5-star employee rating system. And, the 5-star employee rating system, I'll just quickly go through the 5 stars in it. The first star is core values alignment. And the second star is the 11 qualities of a 5-star employee. The third star are the aptitudes and skills that you need for that specific role. And the fourth star is the success metrics. So defining the 3 to 5 key responsibilities for that role, and then having success metrics that are quantified. So there's a number or dollar sign associated with those key responsibilities. And then making sure that the position is producing a 3x return on payroll is the 5th star. And so with the pizza, with the pizza shop, for example, they've got 4 positions. They've got cashier, delivery driver, kitchen, and general manager. And the owner was wanting to have, he's a process and systems junkie too, and wanted to have a process and system that he could put in place so that he could step away from, having to be the one recruiting and hiring. He was just sort of doing things ad hoc, kind of just based off of, casual conversations with people and such. And now through going through this process, he's gotten really clear on what he wants and what he doesn't want. And now he really understands too, how core value alignment is so important. But it's not just saying, oh, our core value is customer first. He's really gone in and clarified what customer first means in his organization. And so, he's using his core values and clarifying statements of those core values in his job posting. So that is attracting those 5-star candidates. And he's talking about what success means in that role in the job posting. Again, attracting the person who's like, yes, I'd love to gamify my job. I love to hit the bar or exceed that bar. And it actually repels the people who just kind of want to collect a paycheck or, just get a job.
What advice do you have for companies that may be looking to implement the 5-star system?
So the advice that I have is set aside 1 hour a day to get clear and to get specific for, like 2 or 3 weeks, on exactly what you're looking for in candidates. Develop customized interview packets so that when you have candidates, you can, ask the candidate the same questions. You're evaluating them based off of the 11 qualities that you're looking for, or the specific aptitudes and skills. I also highly recommend having a shadow day in your process. So bringing that candidate in, we pay our candidates for the shadow day. They're shadowing for like 4 to 6 hours. and they're really getting a sense of what the job is like, what the job entails, what our culture is like. They get to meet their hopefully future fellow colleagues, and that really is a win-win. You know, a lot of people right now are the part of the Great Resignation is people who took jobs where they felt like it was a bait and switch. You know, they were promised that the job was going to be XYZ, but it's ABC. And they were told, oh, we have such a fantastic, amazing culture. But, you know, they get in it and it's like, they said it, but it's not really the culture. So, so shadow days are really important to make sure that is a magic fit. In fact, we had someone come in for a shadow day, and in the office where everyone works in office, that office is in an industrial area. So everyone brings their lunch because there's not really any place to go out to eat, and they all eat together. And this person was just like, this is how it is every day. Everyone eats together. And, you know, we were like, yeah. And she was like, oh, okay, I don't think this is for me. I've had other people come in on shadow day, you know, wanting to kind of make a transition into like, you know, a different position, a different kind of job and such. And then they do it for like 1 or 2 days. And then they're like, yeah, you know, I think I'm going to stay in property management instead of moving over to construction material supply. And you know what? That is great. I avoided a mishire. I spent, you know, a few hours of time and dollars to pay them for that shadow day, but I didn't invest very much to know that it at the end, it wasn't the magic fit. So you want to really vet the candidates. You want to spend a lot of time in the interview process, really making sure that they're meeting the values, the 11 qualities, the aptitudes and skills. You want to test them. You can test them during their shadow days and such. But I think those are the real keys to hiring success at this stage.
Do you think, because in the 5-star system, and maybe it was in the employee kind of thing, you mentioned like cultural fit, but you did mention responsibilities, but not necessarily skill set. So I was just curious, on balance, do you think, because a lot of times on job descriptions, as you mentioned, where people, you know, a lot of hiring managers do it ad hoc, there's just all these like hard skill sets, right? You know, I want like some technical skills or what have you, and maybe not enough of the soft skills or some of the cultural fit. In your mind, what is the relative emphasis that goes into hiring and the job description and the interviews and the shadowing process?
Yeah. So, so it's not just saying it, it's actually doing it. And so, you know, if you have like our interview packets, so we do 2 interviews. We do an 11 qualities interview, and we also do an aptitudes and skills interview. And sometimes part of that like happens in maybe the job shadow day as well. But when you spend a lot of time with a candidate, I mean, a lot of people are interviewing people for like 20, 30 minutes and making a hiring decision. I've had companies come to us and just be like, yeah, it just hires people. And I was like, well, can we talk to the hiring manager? Like they want us to help them. And they're like, no, they're too busy. And well, can we talk to a supervisor? No, they're too busy. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. Like if I can't understand what your culture is, and like, it sounds like it's pretty shitty, excuse me, sorry. Then we want nothing to do with helping you recruit and hire people. So it's really going all in. It's spending quality time with the candidate. Now, what we do recommend is creating like a filter process. So we use an assessment tool called Preview. And so when someone applies for our positions, they automatically get sent the preview assessment. And once they complete that assessment, it bumps them up against the benchmark for that particular role. So we have different benchmarks for different roles. And if that candidate scores 70% or higher, then we move them on to our next phase of our process and such. So we're already weeding out the 1, 2, and 3-star candidates, the people who couldn't follow instructions, who just didn't think it was important, or the people who just fell under the 70% benchmark that we're looking for the particular role. So we've created some efficiencies in our in-house processes and systems. And so then at that stage, when we start interviewing and moving them through our gauntlet, I mean, it's not easy. But we really go all in on them, and really try to get to know them in a more meaningful way. And what's funny is, you know, one of our recent hires at the end of the interview, and she's young. This is like one of her first real professional jobs out of college. And she had done lots of interviews, and she was just, we're like, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments about our process and such thus far? And she was pretty far, through the process. She had done 2 skills testing. She had done 2 interviews. She had done a brief shadow. And then our next stage was like a longer shadow. And, she was just like, I'm really impressed by the questions, because it seems like you really want to get to know me, and you really want to know if this is a good fit for your company. And so it's just like, well, you have us there, because we do think you're a good fit for our company. But it's spending that bit of time. I mean, if you make that investment of time on the front end and really are careful about not settling for less than 5-star employees, then I mean, the return is phenomenal.
Do you have any other advice for companies making sure they can maintain your culture while hiring new employees?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, if you have toxic employees, or you have 1 or 2 3-star employees who are kind of bringing morale down and such, it's hard you kind of need to rip the Band-Aid off quickly, and you need to like move through this process quickly and clean house efficiently, so that you can assemble that team of 5-star employees. Because once you have that solid team of 5-star employees, that's when your genuine amazing culture can really thrive. Culture will struggle when you have 1 or 2 less than 5-star employees in the organization. And, kind of what actually got me on this was, I started my first business when I was 25, and a few years into this, I had just kind of been lucky in my hires. And then I made a bad hire, and that person made me so miserable. I remember waking up one Monday morning going, can I call in sick to my own company? Like, I didn't want to go into the company that I owned, because I didn't want to deal with this employee that I hired and I had been putting up with, and I had been subjecting my team to it. And, that was kind of like the breaking point for me, that I needed to get serious. I needed to figure out how not to hire another one of these people again in my organization. And so that was kind of like how I started down this path and such. And, when I let that person go, it cleared up so much in the culture of our organization. We were back to being happy. We were back to, just knocking it out and being just a 5-star team once we let that person go.
And what do you do? What advice do you have for, like, maybe you didn't have to deal with that, but for certain companies, let's just say that they're trying to kind of, slowly but efficiently clean house, and so that they can bring in the right people to institute the 5-star culture. But there is an impact on, for instance, service to customers, because they won't have enough bandwidth to service customers. How do owners and leaders, handle that transition process, while making sure that these stakeholders are appropriately informed and work with them through the difficult process?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would definitely, make sure that your systems are documented. But if you bring on a new hire, in that training process, you can task that new hire with actually getting the documentation going on the business if it isn't already currently documented. And, there's never going to be a right time. No time is going to be perfect, but if you kick the can down the road, you'll be 6 months, a year later in the same situation unless you do something now. So I would say do something now, get real serious, real specific on what you're looking for, start recruiting, start hiring, bring that person in, and, that 5-star employee will, outshine, and either that less than 5-star employee sees the writing on the wall with this new person in and finds another job, or you just have to let that person go. But if you do need that transition, that's the only way that's going to make it happen. I can't say that it's going to just magically one day all fall into place. You have to be intentional about it. You have to have a plan for it, and you've got to like execute on that plan.
So last thing is, thanks for spending the time with us. Clearly, you share some great information. And how do people get in contact with you if they want to get your copy of your book? Where can they get it if they want to follow your work?
Yeah. So just go to 5staremployees.com. It's that simple. 5staremployees.com.
Is it the number 5 or the word 5?
It is the number 5.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you. And we're going to have that information in the show notes as well. So thanks, everyone. Till next week. Make sure to go check out the podcast website, infhorizons.com/podcast. We're going to have this over there as well.